Hello, everybody. This is Matt Sexton. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to participate in this class. It's truly been an honor. You all have gone far above and beyond what I expected you to be able to do. You've comprehended so much difficult information in a short period of time. That's just a testament to your dedication and your capabilities. Um, so thank you all for allowing me to be part of the process. First of all, yes, I'm from the South, so that's why I sound the way I do. To always sounded like this, you'll have to forgive me. Um, Secondly, I may look younger than you originally thought I would. I'm 31. I've been practicing law about 6 years since I was 25, and it's uh, certainly full of its share of difficulties and challenges, but I strongly enjoy it. I love constitutional law more than I do anything. I think constitutional law is very important. It has changed the course of our country's history forever. It's been remarkable, the shift it took about 80 years ago and how that it's shaped our country since. I want us to be able to have a strong discussion on the methods of constitutional interpretation. How you interpret your Bible is very important because it defines your Christianity. It will essentially, it's your guidebook, your roadmap. The Constitution is very similar. How you interpret it affects you. It affects our government. It affects how our government runs, how our citizenry reacts to the government. It's extremely important, to say the least. So let's continue that conversation, and I want to give you a little bit more information. I just want to expound upon it just a little bit. No need to get in too deep. And I think you all really understand the major tenets of the two approaches you essentially have. There's the original approach, and there's the modern approach. The modern approach embodies the living, breathing Constitution. That's where Moses finds himself. Then you have the originalist approach, which looks at the original intent of the framers, and they try to apply that original intent to each fact scenario that they're presented with in court. So let me expound upon them briefly, and then I want us to talk about it. And I don't want to. I think you all know where I find myself um, on that spectrum, but I want to make very clear I'm not here to try to convince you of anything. I want you to come to an opinion on your own. I want you to develop your the method you believe is most true to our constitutional republic and preserving it, maintaining its integrity, maintaining the process by which laws change, laws are formed, laws are amended, protecting the integrity of each branch of government. Because I think if we do maintain the integrity of the government, then we maintain, or we at least have a higher chance of the citizenry being active and not as apathetic as I think we currently are. With that said, the originalist group are somewhat literalist, but they're kind of literalists plus. They don't just stop at the text; they transcend the text. It goes deeper. It goes beyond it. They look at different things. They say, okay, well, the text says this. Let's look at the records, the legislative records of the debates that went on during the time this was drafted. They can look at the writings of the founding fathers, for example. They can look at laws that were passed shortly after ratification of the Constitution or a relative amendment. then they can develop a holistic perspective of what this amendment means. The modern approach is not necessarily interested in the text itself. As a matter of fact, some modern scholars are actually advocating for completely abandoning the Constitution. They say we don't need it anymore. There's a very well-known scholar at the University of Chicago School of Law, where President Obama taught constitutional law, and he advocates for a common law approach to interpreting the Constitution, which is really not a method of interpreting the Constitution. It's a method by which we can ignore the Constitution. That is essentially what the modern approach does. Is it takes the Constitution, it takes Constitution, you have contemporary society, and somewhere in between is what the judge believes should be the law. They acquire that based upon the evolution of society's morals, where society seems to be heading, and then they take the text, they take society. Their opinion is somewhere in there, and they come up with what they believe to be is good law and a good interpretation of the text. The problem is it always creates a moving target. There is no stability. It puts the power in unelected individuals. It puts the power where the power is not supposed to be, with the unelected individuals, and it really increases a feeling of apathy with the voters, and it pushes everything toward litigation. We have a very litigious society. But those are the two approaches. That's kind of my argument about why I think the original approach is, that's partly why the original approach is better. Let's dive in. Let's talk about these issues on the discussion board, and this is what I would like for us to focus on. I want you each to state what you believe are some possible pitfalls of the originalist approach. Then I want you to state the pitfalls of the modern approach. And then I want you to state what you believe the advantages are of the originalist approach, and then the advantages of the modern approach. And I think you'll find that there are advantages to both and disadvantages to both. For example, a disadvantage to the originalist approach is that it perpetuates something that could be not the will of the majority of the people. Because to amend the Constitution, you have to have a supermajority. That's just the way it is. That's the way they set it up. That's another reason I think it's ironic that the meaning of the Constitution can be changed by an unelected official when it's easier to change a statute, but we don't apply the living, breathing approach to a statute. It's easy to change a regulation, a rule, than it is the Constitution. It's a lot easier. But judges don't change statutes. They don't change regulations or rules like the federal judiciary changes the Constitution. It's the only one that's subjected to this living, breathing notion that it changes over time in a process other than the formal amendment process. So talk about the advantages and disadvantages in your initial post. Provide those. And then in your responses, free reign. Completely free reign. Let's just talk about anything and everything related to methods of interpretation. Now, the last thing I do want to mention is a few of you were, I probably didn't make myself clear enough. Judges don't necessarily fall in completely one camp or the other. And so in my field, I'm not used to, wasn't clear enough. I think Becca rightly pointed out, it seems like that it's hard for us to put ourselves in one category. Even the text said that most judges don't, and I agree with that. That's exactly correct. But you always have your default. This is your default approach. When you deviate from your default approach, good jurists always have a good reason why. And it's usually a substantial one that is sensible and appropriate under the circumstances. So with that said, I'm not saying lock yourself into one and you always have to stick with it. What I'm saying is develop your method, support your reasoning, find the one you feel more comfortable with. And then let's challenge each other and say, well, you're taking this approach, but what about this? And hopefully we can really bring full circle what we initiated in that session, so that we can all be more informed about the methods and where we stand. Thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in this course with you, to learn more about our government and the Constitution together. You all have blessed me beyond measure, each and every one of you. I pray for you. I pray that you get your money's worth out of this course. I pray that you learn about our government and our Constitution, and it stays with you for the rest of your life. And I hope you're able to influence others to glorify God while we're here on this earth. God be with you. Bless you all. Look forward to discussing this with you soon.